It's been a while, but we're back and with some cracking guests lined up, some exclusive offers to keep an ear out for, and, of course, some of the most exciting blue carpet action in years to recap.
Alex Yee and Johnny Brownlee both out the race. That's what I'm hearing.
Luis went through. He didn't stop.
What's happened there?
No.
He's miscounted.
He didn't realise there was another lap.
I don't know, it's mixed emotions. I'd first off apologise to Johnny Brownlee, Alex, and my teammate Dylan McCulloch.
This is the longest 10 seconds.
She's just going to sprint, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's going to be like a
On your marks, get set, go. It's hers to lose now. There was the smile. She knows she's clear of Taylor Brown. It's brilliant from Bogran to have a time penalty and win by this margin is sensational. And after the disappointment of the bike crash in Yokohama, she comes good in Leeds.
I think we're going to see Taylor Brown fall on the floor after this. She has put herself through, and she's given everything for this 2 kilometres.
Is Bogran, but Taylor Brown surely can last out now. She's onto the blue carpet, and having been beaten by Bogran in Leeds, she gets revenge in Montreal. Wild and Yee digging in.
Yee's moving up
for another battle royale. Yee has put the hammer down. It's been a brave effort from Wild, but he's not as quick as Alex Yee. We saw it in Yokohama, and Yee comes away. He's just 50 metres from the line. Nothing more that Wild can do. It's a really brave effort after what happened on the bike. Because second place carries automatic Olympic qualification. Rappaport is coming. Taylor Brown is looking. Is Rappaport going to get past her? As up front, Bogran confirms the win. France at a canter. But who's going to... It's going to be Taylor Brown. This is absolutely unbelievable. She was a mile back. She took the time penalty, and the reigning Olympic champions qualify for Paris. What a run from Taylor Brown. Britain finished second, the United States on the podium in third.
First up, we get to look back at another cracking WTCS Hamburg and kick off our look ahead to the Commonwealth Games with one of the stars to have emerged from the weekend in Germany, South Africa's Jamie Riddle. He talks eloquently about his hunger to seize the opportunities that come his way and how growing up watching the Brownlee brothers has made an entire generation coming through at the top level more aggressive racers than ever.
That's where you kind of find myself in that break where I didn't necessarily attack. It kind of just came at this point where everyone was just looking around and I had gently ridden off. And it was kind of this moment like, initially the game plan was to save legs because I really wanted before Commonwealth Games see how I fare up if I'm able to save my legs and see what I can do in the run. But then that opportunity presents it to yourself. You got your mantra, you got your 20 seconds of courage, and it's kind of just like 20 seconds of courage, let's go. And just to see my career finally taking the lift off, if you look back at junior results, there was nothing special. So to be in this position now, I'm feeling very grateful and blessed. If you're not dreaming for that, then there's no point in being on this journey. I'm not doing all of this to come at 8th or 9th place.
Born in Port Elizabeth in 2000, the 22-year-old moved to Stellenbosch to pursue the triathlon dreams he is now beginning to realise. After making his WTCS debut in Abu Dhabi in November and following up with eye-catching performances in Leeds and most recently Hamburg. So Jamie, welcome to the World Triathlon Podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I feel very honoured.
Well, it's great to have you on. It's the Monday after the Hamburg weekend. How are you feeling kind of physically and mentally reflecting on the race?
It's funny. It's like a bit of cloud nine, the adrenaline's still kind of going. You're still playing the race back and forth in your head and you're feeling super motivated, but then going out for a run, reality kind of hits you, it's back to work and there's no time to rest on your laurels and you've got to kind of just get going with it and not let the highs get too high or the lows get too low and kind of just ride the wave of becoming.
Yeah, try and normalize the feelings, the adrenaline, everything that first Hamburg WTCS, right? Another one to tick off.
Yeah,
ever iconic one to have done.
Yeah, exactly. I think everything is coming pretty quickly. Definitely not as quickly as the likes of heading wild onto the circuit and stuff. It's been a much longer road to try get to the WTCS for me, but it's still feeling a bit surreal just to be on the circuit. I remember, I think it was 2018 when, or maybe even 2017 when I came up as an age group and I actually did the age group at Hamburg triathlon.
Okay.
We were on a junior tour, and we had Tizzy Junior European Cup the next week. So I entered into that and I won that. And I remember watching the race, and I was like, this is just incredible. The crowds is insane, and to be able to experience that was out of this world. And yeah, triathlon's in a good place.
Yeah, wow. So you've done it from both sides of the coin. That's pretty special. There can't have been too many people on that start line that and I don't know, is that a good warm up?
Yeah, no. To be able to race 2 days ago now, and have the race that I had, and just to see my career finally taking the lift off. If you look back at junior results, it was nothing special. So to be in this position now, I'm feeling very grateful and blessed.
Right. I mean, obviously, I said in the intro that you're kind of starting to realize the dreams that you had when you made that move to Stellenbosch. But is that actually doing a bit of a disservice to the earlier part of your career? You know, realizing dreams, obviously, yes, like mixing it with a Vincent Luis coming out of the water on his shoulder. But yeah, like, you know, your first Cape Town World Cup back in 2018 or so on. Like, what do you look back on? You're only 22, but there must be already kind of landmark moments in your career as you were kicking through and sort of feeling that things were going in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you take it back a while and you rewind the clock a bit, you definitely see a youngster that was definitely a delusional optimist. And I always had these dreams, and I always had these aspirations, and I truly believed in them. Like, and still to this day, I truly believe that the possibilities are endless. And so it was kind of this weird scenario that I was always thrown into the deep end, and I was always out of my depth in races. So entering the World Cups and just getting onto the start list by luck, where I probably shouldn't necessarily be on the start list. So I was always in this awkward position of, being out of my depth, but I felt like I was meant to be. And I think that's accelerated my career at a much faster pace. Obviously, when I started coming from South Africa, we're not really accustomed to such fast swimming. Like the swim is just insane right now, the level. So when I first made my first trip overseas and realized the pace at what these races are done at, it was kind of this, okay, we need to learn quickly. And luckily I picked up the swimming, which kind of does give you the advantage to be able to do these races, because you're essentially starting the race near the front, and you kind of make your way back. But I think if you really dive into it, everything that I've done as a youngster has prepared me for the racing that people are seeing now, for example, in Leeds and Hamburg. And I think it's only going to put me in good stead in the future.
Yeah. So you feel like you've been sort of bolting these things on, do you? Like the swim, the quality of your swim has only come through hard work. It's not like you were from a particularly swimming background then.
No, not at all. I mean, I've been doing triathlon as a whole since I can remember 10. My dad was one of those age groupers that raced as a professional. You know, he was a 70.3 world champion in his age group in Las Vegas, and I was able to follow him, and I was always inspired by Chris McCormack, Craig Alexander, Sebastian Kienle, and I was following these guys. So I actually came from the Ironman side of things. And then I clearly remember watching the 2012 London Olympics, and my dad was away for work, and straight after the race, you know, I called my dad and I was like, I'm going to do that. Did you see how Alistair just rode to the front and so forth. And that kind of like sparked this whole ITU journey. And as I said, if you actually dive into the racing, I came from essentially being a very mediocre average Joe triathlete. And then, you know, having the realization, okay, I need to learn how to swim, and I need to learn how to swim quickly. And then luckily, Nico Montavon, my coach from Switzerland, our worlds met in Stellenbosch when I moved there, and he was just on the side of the pool and essentially came up to the side of the pool and said, you swim like, excuse my French, like, and that was kind of like this, well, I mean, not really. I mean, I'm coming first out of the RSA races. And he just said, let's just do 3 weeks of stroke correction, not this pool swimming. Let's do open water specific stroke correction, and let's see how much we can improve your swimming. And that just, I think in 3 weeks, I was already swimming front pack in the junior races and World Cup front pack. So, and then that kind of allows me now, when I stand on the start list, to have this urgency in the swim. And, you know, then it filters down to, I was a very, very average runner. And like, if I didn't have that breakaway in the swim and bike, I would be coming at the back end of the fields in the junior races. So I kind of learned that aggressive racing style because I was such a average runner. And now that my run has come to a level where I believe is some of the best in the world, I still have that urgency in the swim and bike. And that's why you sometimes maybe see me racing super aggressive. And as you saw in Hamburg, I don't really like the idea of trying to save legs, or because it is a massive difference, pushing the pace or sitting in the group. I don't really like that idea. And it's definitely right now to the detrimental of my racing. And it's not benefiting me in any way. But I think, again, this forceful learning and this throwing myself into the depths in a year or two time, maybe you'll see an accelerated learning curve where it'll pay off.
Yeah, you got to throw yourself into those situations and see, if you're not taking your opportunities or at least testing yourself in those first WTCSs and you feel like you're playing it a bit safe, then who knows if those opportunities are going to come back, let alone, give you another chance to maybe rethink that. And I think we saw that a bit with, for example, Sam Dickinson, who's just had a couple of great races, but his first Leeds where he was just obviously, right, I'm going to flip and take to the front here and see how that goes. And yeah, maybe you blow up, but whatever. Mitch Coltman in Montreal in the relay, he was gunning it, and maybe there was a little bit of naivety, and then he blew up on the run. But at the same time, he had his moment in the sun there, and he'll have learned so much from those races, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at the young athletes, I mean, even if when I was in Leeds and we were racing and we missed Vincent and Leo's breakaway, but if you look at the guys that were working in that group, obviously I'm in the group, so I know exactly what's going on. But the strongest workers were the youngest guys. Hidalgo from Brazil, he never races scared. He's always pushing to the front. Batista as well. All these guys are 2000 athletes, 21, 22 years old. And it looks like the younger generation we are that generation that watched Alistair and Jonathan and were inspired by Alistair and Jonathan. And I feel like we're coming up and we're wanting to bring that back. If you look at the running now, it's just on another level. I mean, these guys are running on the track sub 13:30, and there's only one way I'm ever going to beat them is if I race and try to produce some lactate in people's legs, because I feel like I'm a bike runner, not a pure runner. So I see, as you said, Sam Dickinson as well, pushing to the front in specifically Hamburg. Dylan from New Zealand as well. He didn't maybe get as many mentions as he should have because he was just pushing the pace non-stop. So it's very cool to see that aggressive racing style, and I think it's only going to serve triathlon good in the future.
Yeah, so you feel like that is a bit of an attitude that this is like the breakthrough season, right? That's what we've dubbed it, and from that Abu Dhabi race and to an extent last Hamburg, I guess, like the 2021 one where it was straight out of the Olympics, so the start lists were a little bit more open. Yeah. And has that given then this new generation the opportunity to not just come in, but to be able to come in and be aggressive, not like, this is all a bit kind of fresh, and I don't want to sort of upset the apple cart, but you can go in and race your race, and that is part of circumstance, part of being influenced by an Alistair and a Johnny in that racing style, and so many coming through at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors, right? And the guys, guys like Vincent and Hayden and Alex and these guys, they can do exactly what we're doing, and they do it. They're just smarter than us right now. They know when to put the taps on and when to close them. So right now, you got this younger generation, and I think it's awesome. We're just racing with our hearts, and over time we will learn when to put the gas on and when to say, okay, this is how we should race. Let's be more tactical and so forth. But I would want to see nothing more than to see these races just start to progress in a way that I think it can. Triathlon's moving at such a quick pace that I think it's only a matter of time where to win one of these races, you're going to have to be absolutely world class in the swim, bike, and running. There's going to be no room for this is a slight weakness or whatever the case may be. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of factors with this. But the younger generation are definitely racing a lot with their heart instead of their mind.
And I suppose you see someone like Hayden coming through and doing what they're doing, and that can only inspire you as well, right? Because he's
Yeah.
a young kid, still a young kid,
Yeah,
but like just hammering it.
Yeah, you actually forget how young he is. I'm on a French Grand Prix team with him, and we're actually speaking about the other day. Like, no longer can he be known as the youngster, even though he is the youngster. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, 1 or 2 years older than me. He's just come onto the scene so quickly, but just learning from him, and he's another example. I mean, he's never looking back. I mean, even in the race this weekend, I rewatched the race, and like, you will see him on the front of the bike. He has no need to be in the front of the bike. You know, he's got the fastest run. He could be saving his legs, conserving as much as possible, to go under 14 in the 5K. But he's just racing aggressive, and I didn't like it too much because he was coming closer and closer to me. But yeah, it's super cool to learn from these guys, and yeah.
And you've obviously not had any. You said like luck was kind of on your side, getting on some of those start lists and so on. But and in many ways, meeting your coach just on the pool side, and people might be like, well, you've had all the luck, but serendipity comes around. You've got to put yourself in those positions in the first place, right? And being able to enter those kind of races and feel like you're on a logical path and there's no imposter syndrome is kind of quite a rare joy, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I always say luck is when opportunity and preparation meets, and I feel like I've put in a lot of preparation, a lot of hard work. I think all triathletes put in a lot of hard work and a lot of preparation. What we're doing is a bit insane at times, and when those opportunities are presented, I feel like I'm grabbing them with both hands, and that's allowing me to leapfrog a few stages. Of course, to get on those start lists, you can't be. You have to still get the points. So I've had, a European Cup medal. I've got I came second at Africa Champs. So those points help to get into those sorts of races, and that kind of accelerates them. And my ranking's coming down now, which is good. But yeah, as you said, it's honestly just those opportunities present themselves. I've worked hard, and those two meet in a perfect combination. And then you can call it luck, destiny, whatever you want. It's happening, and I'm feeling very grateful and blessed.
And the hard work and the pain that you obviously love, and I saw your videos from lockdown with Andreas Selvesberg, who's another person who kind of likes to redline it quite a lot by the sounds of it. But growing up with a dad who does Ironman, does that immediately put those kind of endurance, physical feats kind of sort of normalizes it in a way, I guess, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, it was such a weird experience. Like, obviously my dad was working a job, but he was training ridiculous hours and getting up in the morning, coming back from work, wanting to go for a run, and would always invite me. And to me, he was my hero. So I would just tag along and see, and this became normal. And then, it went as far as obviously Carl Buckingham, who's a very strong Ironman athlete right now. He just won Ironman South Africa. He came and lived with us for a while. So I was, saw him, what he did on the day-to-day basis. And he would come back after like a 5-6 hour bike ride and then put down a yoga mat and stretch. And that just became normal for me. And I've just been surrounded by very wise people, Bradley Weiss, Flora Duffy, and been able to learn from them and see what they do. And yes, of course, it's normalized everything that I do, but I also have normal friends, so I can see how crazy we actually are, but I absolutely love it. I love the challenge, and I start each week and I'm like, it's almost like this, you don't know if you're going to make it to the end. And that's how I try to live my life and my training. I'm not here to play it safe. Some athletes may look at their training program and be like, no, we're not going to run over 100 Ks this week. We're going to get injured, all this stuff. And to me, it's like, if you're not juggling that line and juggling that between doom or damned, you are, I enjoy walking that line, and I enjoy walking that line of, am I going to be fit or am I going to be stuffed? Yeah.
So the move to Stellenbosch also, like, is that where you met Flora? She obviously spends a lot of time during most years there as well. So yeah, you were kind of exposed to that kind of level as well, were you? And it was obvious that was that the move from Port Elizabeth to there had to happen to kick on, did it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Port Elizabeth is a massive triathlon community, and I still visit there a lot, and I still represent the Eastern Cape, where Port Elizabeth is situated in South Africa. But it's very Ironman based. It's very endurance based, and where Stellenbosch was known more as the ITU level, and it was kind of one of those things where everything just fell into place to be in Stellenbosch. I remember it was actually funny how it happened. Yeah, my sister was going to study in Stellenbosch. There's a very big university called Marty's, and she was quite kind of scared with the living alone situation, and she just like said at dinner, why don't you guys just move there? And my mom just had she was owning a restaurant in Port Elizabeth, and it just flooded. So that was kind of done, and it was kind of this tricky time. My dad was is a financial planner, so he was working in Port Elizabeth, but it is possible to work remotely because it's kind of, you get your clients and the work does itself. And basically everything fell into place. My dad came home from work and he said, if these three things happen, you get accepted to Porus Gymnasium, which is top 3 schools in the country. If you get a place within like 2-3 weeks, and if you do this, we'll pack all our things, our whole life, and we'll move there. And it was kind of this joke, and we are a religious family, and everything fell into place, and we just felt it on our heart to pack up and go there. And I used to watch videos of Jan Frodeno and Tim Don, those videos on YouTube that everyone's watched, training in Stellenbosch, and I went there, and it was just awesome. I mean, back in 2016, it was just such a hub for triathlon, and being able to be exposed to so many triathletes and things like this, it was a dream come true, and it was definitely essential for me to be where I am today. And that's where I met my coach, that's where I met my training partners, and friends for life now.
And so you're still with your Swiss coach. That was one of those serendipitous moments on the side of the pool then, and has he just brought things to you? You've kind of clicked as a team. You feel like you kind of get the best out of each other, and that obviously this is the team pushing forward for this Olympic cycle, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So Nico, he was coach under Darren Smith, and then basically when Darren retired, he loved Stellenbosch, because I used to come to train in Stellenbosch, and he loved Stellenbosch, and he knew there was some talent there. So he just packed up his things and he went out on a limb, and he said he's going to go find talent. And back then he was no athletes, nothing. And so it was kind of like this. I still don't know why he became our coach, but now it's 6-7 years in the running, and without him, none of this would be possible. He's just not only with putting together the program, of course, that's the one thing, but I feel like all coaches can do that now. The information's out there. You can listen to podcasts and you can become a good coach at this point. So, and everyone's essentially doing very similar things. But what he brings is something that I can't find anywhere else. The mental side of it, the bringing your best out of yourself every single day, from your mind to spiritual to all of that sort of stuff. That's elevated me in a way that I can't describe. And the bond that we've created as a coach and athlete is unbreakable right now. So he's been pinnacle in my career, and he's now coaching here in Switzerland at the Swiss National Centre. So I've got some good training partners like Simon Westermann, Fabian Musen, some really strong athletes. So it's a really good setup.
And he was in Hamburg with you, was he? Alongside or not?
No, he was not. He was in Leeds. He was in Leeds with me, but not Hamburg. He obviously works for the Swiss Federation, so it's not always possible. That comes first before me. So we've kind of navigated that whole situation now.
But it must be hugely gratifying for him as well to see you coming out on Vincent's shoulder, who, for the last few years, right, he's been the man with the swim that has been the one to try and get on the feet of, and and to not just do that, but then to, stay in contention for the full race. I mean, how in those, what is a pretty kind of rapid, steep ascension that you've had through the sport, like from the sort of African Cup, European Cup level to the WTCS, starting, for example, with the swim, are there certain things that you notice that you're just kind of, that you very rapidly have to adapt to, that are kind of different in terms of, obviously the level, it's a bit more intense and so on, but I don't know, the boys, is it more or less hectic? And tactically, what are you looking to do? Because you're going to be further down the start list. You don't necessarily get to choose your pontoon position quite as carefully either. So yeah, just kind of fascinated to know how you sort of adapt into those situations as well.
Specifically talking to WTCS, it's very new for me, right? So I got thrown into Abu Dhabi last year, and that did not go according to plan. And that was a big wake-up call. And we worked really hard over the summer, winter for Europe, summer for South Africa, into this season. And we actually have gone a complete switch up in the training philosophy, and we've seen huge dividends in that. And approaching these races, for example, Leeds was the game plan was given. It's always given by the coach, and he's basically, what he told me was, just have an impact on the race. I don't care how you do it, have an impact on the race. We want to prove to yourself and prove to everyone watching and the athletes that you belong. And so that was my only mindset, and that's what we focused on. So it was kind of like, swim like it's the last leg, bike like it's the last thing you have to do, and run like it's the last thing you do. And if you look at the race, I feel like on the bike specifically, and the reception from the athletes and so forth, I was very, very aggressive. And I felt like I proved that I belonged. And as you said, like the level in WTCS is just out of this world. The jump from World Cup to WTCS is just this it's a big jump. And it takes some time to adapt. But I think with those little cues that I've been given from my coach, I've been able to adapt easier. So, for example, in this race, the motto was, which I actually got from the Greg Bennett show, the other podcast, was recently had an episode with Seth Pepper where it's just about the mind, and a little line that he said is called 20 seconds of courage. Mm-hmm. And that was my line the whole race. So, when you sort of start in the swim, it's just 20 seconds of courage, just give it your all. The swim is so much based on that first 20 seconds. Where can you position yourself? Then that's where you kind of found myself in that break where I didn't initially attack. It kind of just came at this point where everyone was just looking around, and I had gently ridden off. And it was kind of this moment, like, initially the game plan was to save legs, because I really wanted, before Commonwealth Games, see how I fare up if I'm able to save my legs and see what I can do in the run. But then that opportunity presents it to yourself. You got your mantra, you got your 20 seconds of courage, and it's kind of just like, 20 seconds of courage, let's go. You're going to kick yourself if you do not take this opportunity. And that's kind of our race, that race. So to answer your question, it's essentially, of course, it's this massive jump, and it's incredibly scary, and it's something only you can experience. But I think really focusing, going into each race with your cue and what you wanting to do, and keep it very simple, because when that fatigue and that stress and that anxiety hits, you can only pop one thought into your head, and usually the brain likes to lean towards the negative thoughts. So to have that mantra where you say, okay, this is it. If I need to think during the race, I'm going to think of this, and that is going to help me throughout the race. And that's kind of helped me in trying to balance this jump that I've taken. And hopefully this kind of has cemented myself in the WTCS, because I do think this style of racing suits me. So as each race goes by, we'll keep changing those cues, and that will allow me to handle the jump easier.
Well, it's brilliant seeing the likes of yourself, hitting the front and clearly just loving the racing as much as anything as well. There's that in itself is amazing to see. And then to be able to have these kind of performances at that kind of level leading into a Commonwealth Games that perhaps is the sort of event where names can be made, right? I'm not suggest, I'm not trying to like get you to say I'm gunning for a podium here or anything, but it is one of those races where somewhat.
I'm taking down Hayden. No. Yeah, no, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, Commonwealth Games, it's kind of funny, like to the Commonwealth countries, it's the second biggest event in triathlon, right, in the ITU circuit. And it is a race that can really make a name of yourself. And I feel like what I've done this year and everything I've done has led to Commonwealth Games. And you know, I've kind of looked over Leeds and Hamburg, where I feel like I could have possibly actually got a better result out of myself if I raced those races, looking at those races. But each race that I've done, you know, even before the WTCS, has been, let's try this so that we know when we line up at Commonwealth Games, we know exactly what the game plan is. And that's kind of been it. I need to have my breakthrough there. So let's race Hamburg with this sort of attitude. Let's race Leeds with this sort of attitude. Let's race the LA PTO race with this sort of attitude, so that I now know where my strengths lie and what I can do to give myself the best possible opportunity to have a chance at a medal there. You know, it's a big thing for you know, people hear that and be a bit taken back by it. But if you're not dreaming for that, then there's no point in being on this journey. I'm not doing all of this to come 8th or 9th place, and that's a very real possibility. To come 8th or 9th in the Commonwealth Games is still massive, right? But there is that outside chance and that glimmer of hope that goes for. And from my favorite movie, Shawshank Redemption, hope is a good thing, and no good thing deserves to die. So that's kind of my thing.
Brilliant. I mean, you sound like a coach's dream, level-headed, dreaming big, good, putting the game plans into action. I think I remember my heading to Cape Town in 2018, seeing there was like a pack of young South African athletes like Shanae Williams, and I think you were there as well in the kind of press conference. Does that ring a bell? Like maybe they weren't racing actually, but you were, so you wouldn't have been in there. But it felt like a kind of a meet and greet with Rachel and Richard and Henry.
Yeah, no, I don't think I was there. I think specifically 2018, I was still in high school, and we had our it's this massive athletics meeting the night before the race. I actually got permission to arrive late to get my athletes accreditation and everything. So I was there, but I remember there was a bit of a meet and greet. I can't exactly remember what happened, but yeah, I mean, I was gutted to not be there because, as I said, back in 2018, which is only a few years ago, these were my role models and still are to this day. You know, Richard Murray, so forth. These people have had a massive influence on my career. I was lucky enough to join the Dutch team and Richard, of course, in Namibia in a training camp in, I think, 2017 or 2018, one of the two. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do remember that there was a meet and greet, and yeah, I unfortunately couldn't be there, I don't think.
No, but I was just kind of wondering, I mean, South Africa is obviously a huge country, and, you know, you've got a Shanae coming through, and you kind of, you know, did you feel you had to sort of break through and follow your own path in order to do what you're doing, you know, in a kind of decentralized sort of setup like it probably is there?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I'm happy to talk a bit about it because, of course, South Africa is a massive country, but, you know, everything's invested into our national sport, which is rugby, and a bit of soccer and a bit of cricket. But all the money and focus is shifted towards that. So doing triathlon is kind of this left field path, and it's actually really tricky to navigate. I mean, the talent in South Africa is endless. An athlete, for example, Nicholas Cornett, who's also qualified for the Commonwealth Games, is an insanely talented athlete and probably swims even better than me. You know, he's going to be an underdog at the Commonwealth Games. No one knows who he is, but I can tell you he's going to be leading the swim, and he's going to make it faster than anyone's ever seen. This guy comes from a swimming background, and to not go into too much depth into it, you know, if you're wanting to pursue triathlon in South Africa, you have to you have to do it yourself in a sense. Unfortunately, we do not have the funding to have coaches at the WTCS series. So when I'm going to these races, it's kind of, me on my own. So it's quite an honor to be able to have the support that I have. I feel like I realized this at a very young age. From 15, 16, I was already working on my social cues. I was doing things at school like public speaking to make sure that I am able to one day hook a sponsor that can support my career, because I knew, unfortunately, it's not going to come. It's not going to just be handed to me, no matter how good I am, like you're seeing with other athletes. So to have that kind of right now, having that sort of breakthrough, it's I think it is leading the way for younger guys. And I'm hoping that, it changes a few things, that it allows athletes to be able to get through this, navigate this journey easier, because it is a super expensive journey, especially coming from South Africa. Exchange rates and we're very far away.
That's true.
Yeah,
you forget about things like exchange rates sort of magnifying things like that as well, right? And
I think it's 1 to 17 right now, which is just out of this world. So for every 17 rand I'm spending, is only €1. So it does become extremely tricky. But I think if I can give any advice to young South Africans, or any third world countries, is kind of, I've said this to an athlete the other day that I train with from France, and I kind of said to him, I removed any sort of plan B from the journey, and I said, if I'm going to want to have to do this, I'm going to have to do it myself. So I'm going to have to make sure that my social media is up there. You can complain about it as much as you want, but that's the world we live in now. You need to have that to get sponsors. So it's been like this very hard journey trying to get these sponsors, but now that I'm here, it's elevated me as a person in a big way, and it's taught me a lot. And I appreciate a lot more than, if you're coming up in a country that is developed and has these massive federations. I mean, it's actually funny, you see these athletes that are in these federational setups and they're still able to complain about this or that. And I look at that and I'm just like, it's insane. So I think any advice I can give is, if you're young, start to work on that, start to look outside of the sport and try and navigate that, and try see what you can do because someone has to pay the bills, And
I guess it's one thing to have the kit sponsors to enable you to perform, but you also, have you been able to find financial support as well from some of those sponsors? I mean, I guess the life of the triathlete, there's a lot of travel, but it's, you're kind of quite self-sustaining in many ways, apart from probably some quite expensive coffee habits kicking around. But how has your kind of journey through that been? And have things like fortunately clicked? Do you find it once you've hit like a hat trick of solid WTCS starts and performances that suddenly doors open that perhaps weren't before?
I haven't seen any of that right now, to be very honest. My sponsorships and partnerships have been based off believing in maybe the dream and the kid more than seeing the results and saying, okay, let's sponsor this person. It's been kind of, when I've basically all my sponsors, it's been a pitch. So I've had to go to them and be like, can I give you, can I talk to you? Can I pitch myself? Can I pitch my journey? So that's kind of been my way of getting my sponsors. So essentially, with a PDF, PowerPoint presentation, and basically being able to talk and being able to sell myself as a brand. That's kind of how I've hooked my sponsors. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to get financial backing. And the team that I have right now, they're believing in me instead of specifically my results or whatever, which is actually quite nice, because I think that is where it's at. I mean, if you look at the biggest sports in the world, it's not necessarily what they do, it's who they are that makes the people fall in love with who they are. And then what they do obviously infiltrates into the fans backing that person. But I've kind of gone from the other direction, is try and make the companies fall in love with me and what I stand for and what I believe and what I'm trying to do. And then, let the results come through my hard work and determination. And of course, there is that aspect to it. I still need to produce results and I still need to be climbing the ladder. But I think, not everyone is going to be a gold medalist. Not everyone's going to be an Olympic champ. So you have to have something else to you. And like, for example, my title sponsor, Insika, is a company in South Africa that is a Black-owned business. And they are doing incredible things, in South Africa. They have a foundation and it's all about giving back. And I'm able to, inspire the less fortunate. These people is coming from very unfortunate circumstances. And to be able to see these guys and it's very touching and it motivates me, and to be able to talk to them or to give any sort of advice, it's really inspiring. So, and then you've got obviously Under Armour South Africa, who's been with me for now 6 years, who've just completely backed me in everything I do, and they love the grit, the determination, and who I am. And recently a few other sponsors have come onto board, and I'm very grateful. But I feel like my sponsors are looking long term in what I'm able to create, instead of right now at the results right now. Because at the end of the day, top 15 is great in a WTCS, but it's not going to create any massive waves. You need to be coming, fighting for that podium positions.
And it's our job to be getting your faces and stories out there as well. And I feel like at the moment there's a real upswell of just great characters and really interesting personalities and people showing the love of the sport, and the racing has been phenomenal this season. So there's so much kind of clicking into place, and so from our side of things as well, it's been a joy to be able to sort of get behind these races and people like yourself, and to try and get the platforms for you to be able to share. And
I think that's definitely the way forward. Is as you said, I think the personalities are starting to come out, and as soon as the personalities start to come out, I think we're going to see a huge rise in triathlon. And it's just about giving these people the platform to be able to express their truest self. PTO is doing a great job of it. ITU is starting to bring the podcast and so forth in, but all these sort of things just elevate the sport as a whole. And I really do see that. And as you said, like, the personalities are starting to come out, and you're starting, even me, like, I'm a fan of the sport. I'm watching, I'm following different athletes because I enjoy following these athletes, and I will never miss a triathlon on the weekend. It's just something that I'm just going to tune in to watch. I'll sit for 8 hours and watch triathlon if I have to, because I'm invested in, the person.
But so between now and the Com Games, what's how's that shaping up? 2 weeks to go, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, it's actually right around the corner. It's quite scary. I should probably be training right now, but it's essentially just let's finish this block off. I think I'm a student of the sport, so I kind of I study a lot about what's before the games. What were the athletes doing, and the athletes that peaked, what were they doing? What the athletes that fell off or just didn't perform as they were expected, what were they doing? And I think kind of what I need to do these next 2 weeks is change absolutely nothing. If anything, tone things back. Everything's going so well. There's no point in changing anything. So essentially, just get the work done. Nothing special. Take everything 5%, the intensity 5% down, and just play it safe. Honestly, I think I'm in great form, and I think there is that glimmer of hope for an outside shot. But whatever happens, I've prepared to the best of my ability, really. So it's kind of just get to the start line safe, healthy, and as fit as possible.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great chatting with you. This is the first one we've done of these for a little while, so a fascinating one to come back with. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it too.
All right, Jamie. Take care. Good luck in Birmingham.
Thank you. Ciao.